All good true crime shows start with a 911 call and usually some type of police response. In 2020, Sarah Boone was engaged in an intense game of hide and seek. Unfortunately, her boyfriend became lost baggage. We're going to unpack the Sarah Boone suitcase case with an update, all that, and what it means for your weekend on the Comm Center. Today in the Comm Center, John and I are manning baggage carousel number 911, which is where the truth comes out after gate arrival. I want to talk about the fact that Sarah Boone zipped her boyfriend up in his
that's not about me.
Claimed it was well,
we could she tells it all in the 911 call. If you wanted to play that, we could play that. Let's go back to the 911 call.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
4748 France Court, apartment 3.
4748, what's the street name?
France, F-R-A-N-T-Z.
And the apartment number?
3.
Is this a police or medical?
My boyfriend is dead.
Oh.
Okay, send the line for the fire department. Do not hang up.
So both.
Fire risk. That's the location, Mercy.
Desk 32.
No, please don't leave.
4748 France Lane, apartment 3.
France Court.
When she yells, "No, please don't leave," I thought this was going to turn into a Halloween episode where...
Who's she talking to? Yeah, who the hell's there?
I think that's her ex-husband.
Oh, yeah, I remember from the body cam. I remember she's got her ex-husband there. That's who shows up.
Then this woman's having a genuine emergency, whether it's at her hands or not, and she's saying that I'm on France Court, and you're a 911 dispatcher. I was a 911 dispatcher. I was a cop for a while. You worked at a Target as well in theft prevention.
Bet your ass.
So you're used to the audible cues or clues that people give you, and when somebody says that they're on France Court, how do you spell that, John?
That's well, as a dispatcher, that's something you have to check on. But I would assume that she meant France, like the country, F-R-A-N-C-E. But that's not what she's saying. Right,
and she's so used to saying it, and she's just like most 911 callers, as you'll probably agree with me, they're used to us assuming that everyone knows where they are. I don't know. It was weird that she's like, "Don't go anywhere," and I was thinking, man, this is taking an odd turn. This guy's been raised from the dead and stumbling away, or maybe he's rolling away in the suitcase if it had casters.
Yes.
Okay, is this near Mackenzie Drive?
I don't know where that is.
Okay, fine, okay.
It's Tealwood Park Apartments.
Okay, 4748 France, correct?
Correct.
All right, great. Now tell me exactly what happened there.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in his case and we were playing. And like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep, and I woke up, and he was dead in the suitcase, so I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
Right, okay, what's your apartment number?
3.
I don't know.
Apartment 3?
Yes, like he has like blood coming out of his mouth, and I don't know if like he had like an aneurysm or what happened.
Right, okay, all right, okay. Listen, we're getting help out there too. All right.
Yeah, he's purple.
One thing that's interesting about this 911 call is that a lot of 911 callers believe that even if they were the perpetrator, if they were the first ones to call, if they get their word in first, that they will be beyond suspicion because they're the ones who took right action and called. Drew will tell you, as someone who has investigated many horrific crimes, domestic violence crimes, and as someone with many loves that can now not be located, that it is always the person, the romantic partner that's usually responsible for a death or an injury or something like that. It's always the husband, it's always the wife, the boyfriend, the girlfriend. But for some reason, even on domestic violence calls where people are still alive, the perpetrator will call in first to kind of get on record first, and he thinks that primacy effect is going to remove him from suspicion.
Yeah, and then second of all, I think she's I think some of the verbal cues that you could go back and listen to hear is that she's very direct about everything except. So she's very direct about my husband's in a suit, or my boyfriend's in a suitcase. He's dead. He's dead in a suitcase. She's got the address down. She's got the apartment complex down. And he's like, okay, now tell me what happened. And she's like, well, he got zipped up in a case and we were playing a hide and seek kind of thing. Okay. All of these details are very important. So they should just be able to come out without, it should be like, he zipped him up. He zipped himself up in a suitcase and I came back down and he was dead in the morning. Like if that were the truth, that would easily come out. Instead, it's being clouded with a lot of like kind of thing and suitcase kind of thing and hide and seek. We were playing, my boyfriend and I were playing kind of thing, and it's not direct. Everything else is direct. The shocking part is direct. The less shocking part, what you would imagine to be less shocking, is not direct, which tells you there's some level of deception there.
You know, what's amazing to me is that I don't mind breaking this down again, because now I know Sarah Boone. The first time that we did this, I'm just like, I'm giving her all kinds of credit about her, like, you know, being some kind of cunning. Yeah. She's not. She believes that she's smarter than everyone she encounters. However, she's less smart than everyone she encounters. And that's why we now wind up with a story of my boyfriend and I were playing hide and go seek, and he hid in a suitcase, and I went to sleep and I forgot about him. That's what she would come to say later when she was in the interview. And, you know, at this point, Drew, do we even need to keep going with the 911 call? Because he gives her like directions for CPR, and the night she already found him like 90 minutes ago and has called her ex-husband to come over. I just wanted to play the 911 call to establish the story. So here we know the police show up, they go inside, they find a dead man in a suitcase. They're very nice to her. She wants to go inside and get water out of her place. That's what the main thing I can remember is that she, you know, she's thirsty. They take her down for interrogation. You know, she remarks that she intentionally didn't leave him in there. But what's most amazing to me is that, you know, in this case, a damning piece of evidence came to light, that being video from her cell phone. The video on the cell phone is video of the suitcase with his name's Jorge Torres, right? He's in there going, Sarah, I can't breathe. And she's just like, yeah, just like how I can't breathe when you cheat on me. I can't breathe. That's how it feels when you choke me. Sarah, that's my name. Don't wear it out. Sarah. And she's mocking him as he dies. She has produced her own best evidence against herself. Now, let's go into the court stuff, unless you have anything to add about the interrogation, the great stuff I forgot.
No, you know what I was contemplating doing though, John, and I don't know if you agree to it or not, because I could put it together in a couple seconds, but maybe we should just play. We didn't play on the original playlist, which I would hope you all would refer to if you're just hearing this episode for the first time. Go back and listen to the other playlists. Like I've distilled them down in the audio version. I've distilled it down to its own podcast. They're about 25 minutes a piece. And we you know, Jonathan succinctly breaks down the 911 call, like delves deep into it, explains what the perspective of 911 dispatcher. We both kind of chime in the second episode where we talk about the body cam and what the reactions are. And then it eases a little bit into the interrogation part. And then in the third episode, which is probably more like 45 minutes or an hour, I kind of break, you know, I rely on my old experiences teaching interrogated interviews and interrogations, and I kind of show some stuff in there. So I would encourage you to go back and listen to the playlist. What we never did, and it was more than likely me, we never really played the footage that was on her phone. And that was released after I think it was maybe after we did the episode, maybe not. I'm usually not one to play like the gruesome stuff, but
I was going to say it's a little gruesome, so
I don't know. It's what we're here for. So it's entirely up to you, John. We can
by all means go ahead.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
Thank you.
This now infamous video was taken by Sarah Boone herself, showing her boyfriend, 42-year-old George Torres, inside a suitcase. She says they were playing hide and seek when Torres hopped inside. Prosecutors say Torres was begging for his life, telling Boone he couldn't breathe. But you decide for yourself.
Sarah.
You.
Sarah.
Stupid.
Sarah.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
Sarah. I can't breathe, babe. Seriously.
Yeah, that's when you do when you choke me.
Sarah. 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 Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah.
Real ransom. I want to give it for it extra. Because I got this.
Sarah.
Real ransom.
Sarah. Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you jingle me.
Sarah. Please.
So that's a little gruesome, sure. That's the reality of the case, and
It's also darkly hilarious in some ways. Like, first of all, how did the guy get in there? This guy must have been very slight of frame. But I think just to save me from a moment of like sheer, trashiness, now is a good time to mention that intoxication, not a legal defense in the state of Florida. You cannot just say that, well, I was drunk and I didn't know what I was doing. She appears to be quite drunk here.
Yeah.
How did she get him to get into the suitcase? How did he consent to that? This is the only thing I can think of in terms of her offering a defense, is that he consented to getting in there, and or that he forced her to drink so that her intoxication is not her fault or something. But what's interesting about this is that, so this is the most damning evidence that you could possibly imagine. You've recorded yourself committing the crime, showing cruel indifference to someone you're supposed to love as they die in a terrible and ridiculous fashion. And now Sarah Boone is mad that the internet, that you, me, and everyone else has been commenting on this. She's mad that this has sort of gone out to the public domain. I've been watching a lot of her hearings, saying that she's frustrated by that she doesn't have a card to play. In some cases, saying that she's mad that how much evidence is already out there. State's attorneys, of course, make the point that, like, hey, once discovery is complete, this stuff is public property. Like, we have a right to know what's going on in the court, what you're being charged with, what the evidence is against you. And her objection is that it's devastating to her case. So she doesn't like that all that's going on. And she's had now she's on her 9th attorney, 10th if you count her brief stint being pro se, going it alone. But Drew, this has been a circus. I mentioned to you before that I'm a little sad that she does have an attorney representing her at this time, a small army of attorneys. We're going to show some stuff from her being in the courtroom, her letter to hire this new guy, James Owens. I have 2 videos here of her lawyers quitting on her. Where would you like to start, or what are your initial thoughts on this?
No,
it's a shit show.
Her indignance, like, this is why I say, like, this isn't even a shameless push to get you to go to our playlist. This is why I say you really need to look at her body cam demeanor. Then you need to see her in episode 3, her interrogation, just because of how she thinks that she can manipulate these two detectives, or that she can talk her way out of this, or that she's smarter than the average. She can outfox everybody. And, she has no idea how bad this is. One, and two, she was claiming that she wasn't that drunk, or that look, I've been drinking. I wasn't that drunk, but you could hear very clearly that she was sloshed, because you could tell the differences in her voice. One, and two, she would have had to have been pretty sloshed to forget about him being in that suitcase. And if anything, it would almost be, I know what you're saying about there's no real defense for that, but at least charge wise, it may have moved from maybe a second-degree murder, which it is, to make it a non-capital case, by the way, to maybe culpable negligence or something to that effect. I mean, like, it's just, it's really bad, damaging behavior, but based on her dumbass conduct is basically what that boils down to. But she's pretty hammered, and she probably forgot that she recorded it. And the police got her phone the next day or the day of, and they review this. And then you'll see in the interrogation, they even tried to play it for her. And she's like, "Oh, I don't think I can watch this." Like, yeah, no shit, because you unalived somebody. You zipped somebody in a suitcase and they ran out of oxygen.
I don't even think that I don't think it was unintentional. I think when she went to bed, I think she was satisfied that he was in the suitcase and was content to leave him there all night. I don't believe that she thought that he would die. I think that she thought that someone could just be in a suitcase for 8 to 10 hours and just kind of come out of it with a stiff neck or something. Yeah. And that at some point, he would have like putting him in that kind of ultimate timeout, that he would have some kind of reckoning with his bad behavior or poor treatment of her and come out of that somehow in a good mood, which is, he's not a dog. He's not going to come out of there happy to see her. But I do have a bunch of stuff to show here that kind of shows how she's been doing a terrible job. Lots of commentary. We'll even show you just an extended clip of what it's like seeing her in court when she's pro se. But her ultimate tactic when she was on 911 and in interrogation and now in the court is that really the facts don't matter. If she explains herself well enough, and if you understand her, there's no way that you're going to be not on her side. And that's something that is kind of a constant refrain. And also just nothing ever seems to be her fault is something that constantly goes on with her. So lawyer number 8, Patricia Cashman, goes in front of the judge and asks to be let off of the case. Now,
court appointed, yeah.
Court appointed. She's essentially being held hostage by Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone, who is doing nothing to help out with her own defense, because Sarah Boone believes that she knows better than the lawyers. She won't cooperate with the lawyers. She's I described this as being your own lawyer, and by reading Wikipedia. She thinks that she can just copy and paste the Bill of Rights, and that's going to be good enough for her. But Patricia Cashman cited irreconcilable differences, which is normally a phrase that you hear when there's a divorce going on. Sarah Boone sent a 58-page letter to the judge, and she's been sending quite a few letters, complaining about Cashman's snotty attitude and her lies.
Correct. She has walked out of the last 2 visits when I've tried to review things with her. Just so the court knows, I've spent probably 20 hours, a little bit more, a little bit less, with Miss Boone. She has lots of lists, lots of questions. In reviewing the court file, she was distressed previously about having access to her lawyers. I have taken collect phone calls from her that are at my expense. JAC doesn't reimburse you because I think it's important for clients to have access. I have spent...
Hang on, please. No one's interrupted you this morning, Ms. Boone.
As I said, I've spent over 20 hours going through her questions, going through her list. When I tried to update her with regard to the depositions that I took recently, she opted to exit the jail conference. When I tried to review some things with regard to discovery as to things I wanted to make sure she was aware of. She walked out.
Something else that you had other than a...
So what's happening is that Sarah Boone has an idea of how she should be defended, and she is telling these ideas to her lawyer, and her lawyer's just like, well, you know, that's not how things work in the criminal justice system, and you know, we really need to go in this direction. We need to do these things. Sarah Boone's mad that this lawyer is not her puppet. She's mad that the lawyer's not just doing every single little thing that she says, which a lot of times is not legally durable. It's a waste of time. It's irrelevant. And so Sarah is upset that her lawyer's not just doing every little thing. She's also expressed anger and being upset that she's not represented by an attorney who has no other cases on her docket. They're talking to clients all the time. They're constantly having to manage their time, talk to other clients. With Sarah Boone obviously sitting here for a while with this murder trial going on, she's probably got more cases that are closer to going to trial and stuff that she's got to do and other deadlines. Meanwhile, she'll meet with Sarah Boone, and I'll keep playing it here and have Sarah Boone explain what these meetings are like. But Sarah is going to petition the judge, make a request not to dismiss Patricia Cashman from the case, because Sarah Boone does want a lawyer, but she's going to make a special request of the judge. I'll go ahead and let Sarah Boone speak for herself.
58-page submittal or letter. What other information is it that you're seeking to have me take a look at?
It's things that I've been working on in the meantime. It's things that she likes to tell me is not necessary, but I know for a fact it is necessary. She likes to, in quotes, put things to rest all the time and constantly tells me I'm not having this conversation with you. So I'm not going to waste my time, and I, being in jail, had supposedly abundant amounts of. She's not going to waste my time because she's not going to explain something to me. And I have taken it upon myself to explain it to myself because she refuses to do so. I don't understand.
Just wanted to pause here to say, so she says that her lawyer is explaining to her what's necessary and what's not necessary. And Sarah's saying, well, I know better than you. I know what I need, and I need you to do this. And she's like, I'm taking it upon myself to educate myself. She thinks she's smarter than her lawyers, and that is consistently her problem.
And what it is that she has against me, I have told her from day one that her snotty attitude was inappropriate, and I try very hard to bear with her and her attitude. I don't know what it is that I'm doing wrong to her, but I feel that her attitude has equaled prejudice, which is not in my favor, especially considering she supposedly represented my life.
Okay. Give me an example of, if you could, of items that you believe are important Ms. Cashman is not giving attention to or dismissing as you may have framed it.
Yes, Your Honor. She likes to tell me that I don't like her answers. She's not giving me any answers to this written 3 pages worth of questions that I'm still waiting for her and any other attorney to actually answer for me, such as, why can't I have a bond? Why can't I have a download of my phone? Why can't I speak to my investigator? Why can't I have my medical records? Why can't I...
The question about why can't she have her mail delivered has nothing to do with the lawyer and everything to do with the jail. So she is just dumping everything on her lawyer.
...utilize my constitutional rights. There's 3 pages worth of questions that I...
What constitutional rights specifically?
I'm very wary about having a fair trial at this point. There are a handful of other amendments that I have been researching and working on and trying to incorporate. To me, what I have written to you is obvious, and apparently from the correspondence that I get from the world, South Korea was the last place that I received correspondence. They obviously see the same thing. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong other than wanting to have a very successful outcome.
She wants to have a very successful outcome, Drew. These are just strange phrases from her, and we'll address the very successful outcome. She's oddly optimistic that somehow she's going to come out of this completely exonerated of any wrongdoing, which does that imply some sort of disconnect? Does she not realize how deeply she is in? And if she is disconnected from reality, Drew, do you think it's just because she has diminished intelligence, or do you think she actually is at a diminished capacity level? I just want to know what you think as a cop, not as a lawyer, but as a cop.
I think she's too smart for her own good. I think that she thinks that she's actually right and everybody else is wrong. But she's been through 10 lawyers. And every single time she's been through a lawyer, like I went through the list today, you know, in her court file, basically, which is public record, Orange County, Florida, whatever. They're all, when they all filed the motion to withdraw, it's always pretty much the same thing. Irreconcilable differences, ethical concerns. So in other words, she's driving the case. So just as a human, you know, not as an attorney or a cop, or just as the outsider, the casual observer of what this lady's all about, she's too smart for her own good. She thinks that for some reason her case is like more important than anybody else's, and that it's different than everybody else's, and that, you know, there's just like this gross mistake that she's even in jail in the first place. And it's not. Like a human being died at her hands, and she's got to own up to that. That's just life.
Do you think her awareness of the, you know, the celebrity status of this case being on YouTube, and, you know, she's talking about getting correspondence from South Korea, do you think that feeds into her egotistical view of her case being the most important thing?
No, she's using it as fodder. She's saying that why is it that everybody else in the world gets to know about my case and I don't? And I wish I could say I agree with her on that, but I don't, because we're all just talking about stuff she either already knows or that she's not listening to. Just like now, like she just said, you know, all my constitutional rights are being violated. The judge said, okay, well, specifically what constitutional rights are being violated? Well, just that I don't think can get a fair trial at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's just like,
it's a lot of thinking, it's a lot of feeling, and it's almost no citation of legal precedent or law whatsoever, because she's not a lawyer, but she thinks that she could come into this arena of precedent and procedure and rules of evidence, and that she can go toe to toe with these guys, or that she can direct these things, when that's just not how court works. It doesn't work according to your whims. It doesn't work according to how you've seen it on TV. And what shocks me is that I've watched a lot of this pro se stuff that she's doing on her own. The prosecutors are not under obligation to do this. The judge is not under obligation to do this. But this is either a travesty of justice or a testament to our courts, because they play with her with kid gloves. They explain to her, like at one point, they're talking about how they will have this evidence viewing. And she's arguing about where that will take place and how she doesn't want to have it at the courthouse because the Orlando Sentinel is going to be there and another news media agency is going to be there. And she believes that she has the right to privacy and all this. And so she doesn't want the media there. And they're just like, well, you know, this is how we normally do it. And, you know, we can't have it someplace else and still have you be on record about this. And so they bothered to go to great lengths to explain it to her. And then she's just like, well, I don't think that's fair. She keeps getting locked into these arguments with the judge. And then the judge is just finally like, well, I've already ruled on this. And she'll go, well, I don't agree with that. And I think that's unfair. And you'll hear him say at various points, if you are watching this case, that's your opinion. And we'll hear actually from the prior judge in the case where he explains to her the role that she plays in her own defense and the role that the attorney plays. I wanted to get to this because she's about to make a special request of the judge in regard to her attorney, Patricia Cashman, which of course we already know has withdrawn from the case. Here we go.
It's just been long and drawn out, and I believe that God obviously will forgive me as much as I do him in order for him to give me this very unique adventure that I am on, and I'm doing my best to.
She just described this as an adventure, by the way.
Let everyone know who I really am, as opposed to the malicious murderer that everyone thinks that I am.
Again, she thinks this is about her image. This is about who she is as a person. It's thoughts and feelings, and that's how she thinks the court should work.
I don't feel that she can do that properly. I still always, the reason why I'm here is to hope that she will come in with a gentle, softer side and actually listen to what it is that I'm saying and see the bigger picture other than what's the one avenue that she keeps going down. There's other ways to win and more than one way. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not saying that I'm trying to remove her. I'm just trying to ask you, please, forgive me if I have to ask you for this. If you could please let her know, please, to just be nice to me. And
be nice to me.
I'm telling you right now, there's no obligation for this, first of all. Second of all, I learned very early on in my law enforcement career, there is a huge difference between what the defendant thinks and what the attorney thinks when they go into court. And it's not the attorney's job to get you off scot-free every single time.
There's no way. She's fucked, and she doesn't realize that.
It's the attorney's job to rigorously defend you, to mitigate any punishment that may be coming your way, and make sure that all of the processes have been followed to make sure that you have some kind of fair representation. That's it. They don't have to be nice to you. And as a matter of fact, I happen to have been in a situation where I needed an attorney, and thank God I had the attorney I had. He happened to be a nice guy, but he was also just a gentleman, and he had a manner about him in the courtroom which commanded his presence. There are other bulldogs that I could have chosen that I know command a different kind of attention in the courtroom from being a dick or from being a very stern, like brick-faced woman or whatever. And that's what you want in an attorney. You don't want a pushover. You can't have that. So she's going in with this guilt or innocence, all or nothing, blah, blah, blah. And the attorney's going in trying to mitigate all of the trying to just like, hey, look, we can enter reasonable doubt here, or we can argue this here or that. But what you're telling me to argue, I can't argue. I can't do it in good faith. It's not, even the experts are saying that this isn't what's taken place. I mean, those attorneys that she had gone through, one of them she had for a year, one of them she had for 4 months, one of them she had for a month and change, and they all end up doing the same thing. Like one of them was denied his motion to be removed. He was saying that he wanted to withdraw for X, Y, and Z, and the judge is like, no, stick it out. Like, you're going to have to stick it out. That's, what a court appointed, you accept the terms of the case, and this is the money you're going to get. And so,
never mind that it's damaging to the rest of their practice that they have to be forced to do this. And it's not enough that poor Patricia Cashman is forced to do this. She also has to be nice. If I was the judge, and I'm not, and he didn't say this in reply, but I would say, do you realize that she's being compelled to do this? She doesn't have to be nice to you. How can I compel her to be nice to you? And you need to work with her because you need an attorney, and she was appointed to do it. So if you care about your freedom, it's incumbent upon you to put up with as much of this lawyer shit that she wants to throw at you.
Trial has been pushed back several times, in part due to the constant withdrawals of attorneys.
Judge, the letters that have been coming to your honor, the derogatory berating of my services in this case, I can't effectively represent her. She doesn't trust me. She calls me a dud, I think, a buffoon, on and on and on and on. And no one should have to endure that type of derogatory comments and expect to effectively represent someone, especially in a murder case.
And the previous judge overseeing her case previously said in court, Boone's attorneys might not be the problem.
But one thing I want to caution you about, if this becomes a problem on another court-appointed attorney, I'm going to look more closely at what the alleged disputes are. You have a right to a court-appointed lawyer. There are certain decisions a defendant gets to make in the defense of their case that are absolutely theirs, such as whether they go to trial or not, such as whether they testify or not. But there are many decisions in a case that a lawyer gets to make. And while you certainly have a right to consult with your lawyer and discuss with your lawyer, they don't automatically just do whatever you say. They use their professional judgment and experience and look at the evidence, look at the law, and do the best they can.
So that's the judge explaining that, you get to make major decisions on your case, whether or not you're going to take a plea or not take a plea, or you want to take the stand or whatever. But the attorney is going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting for you. And they understand, like, when you file a motion, it can't be about 6 different things and just general complaints and all this. And she's doing things like copying and pasting the Bill of Rights and sending it to these people who don't need to see that. We don't need to, the right to bear arms, obviously not relevant in this case. She's wasting a lot of people's time. She's actually using a tried and true lawyering tactic of just slowing the process down with paperwork. Drew, you've probably seen cases where the wheels of justice are brought to a halt because of just inundating the other side with anything that they can file, that they will file. In some senses, she's doing that. I'm sure it's not intentional. This is what it's like when Sarah Boone is representing herself in court. And Drew, I'm just going to let it play. And because there's so much silences, feel free to just throw in commentary. I've already got a few fun things picked out.
They have any position on the matter, and then I'll hear from you, and then the court may be in a position to make a ruling at that time.
By the way, the audio is a little rough to begin with. Sorry about that. Blame Court TV. It will get better. So hang in there for a few seconds, everyone. Because at one point, she's just like, we need to have a hearing about this. I'm not prepared. And the judge is like, that is this hearing.
Yeah, you're in the hearing.
And if you think about it, the idea that a woman is on trial for murder and she's abdicated her right to an attorney. You just have to imagine how bad it's been with these attorneys.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Have a seat back there.
Or wherever you feel most comfortable.
I can just sit back there while she...
Okay, thank you.
Until you're ready here.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Ms. Boone, you can proceed, ma'am.
First and foremost, I do not know what it is that you are referring to.
When you say you do not know what I'm referring to, what do you mean?
Motions were filed by the WFTV and the Orlando Sentinel.
Yes, ma'am. So there was a motion to intervene for the limited purposes of opposing closure that was filed on August 12th by WFTV. It was sent to you by U.S. mail at the correct inmate legal mail address on August the 12th. And the Orlando Sentinel's motion to intervene and notice of joinder was filed on August 13th. And it reflects, it said the certificate of service was August 13th, and it was sent to you at the same legal mail correspondence address at the Orange County Jail. Have you received either of those motions?
I have not.
Okay, I have copies.
I have extra copies.
Oh, perfect. All right.
She always says she hasn't received anything.
So, Ms. Boone, if you'd like to take a look at those, feel free to take your time to review them. And then after you've reviewed them, I may have the opportunity to answer any questions you have about them if I can, and then we can proceed.
See how they're willing to just teach her how to be a lawyer in the middle of the court?
Also some circuit court cases.
She should have already been prepared. She should have already maybe had some remarks written down. At this point, she should be ready to go, making remarks, a rebuttal about why she should make her case. She's sitting there, the courtroom, nothing is happening. Everyone just sitting around. The court says, take your time to review these documents. It's mostly just so she can organize her thoughts. And so now we have the judge checking his email, looking at things that are going on in other cases, trying to see if an Amazon package has been delivered. The clerk, clearly on Instagram, she's scrolling right now. She's watching. And then the younger clerk, clearly watching TikTok. As we all sit here. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you see those signs. You do not approach the clerk. They did at one point have to tell Sarah Boone that she's not free to get up and walk around and approach people.
Yes, ma'am.
One of my topics of discussion, as you know, are the requests in regards to the laptop and internet being one of the most important, would I have had access to that, I would have already had this and not had to sit here unprepared. I believe that is a major violation to my due process of me not having these chance to prepare properly and to utilize the court's time and everyone else's here by me having to do this now. So I wanted to put that out to you that I am unprepared for this. I did not know that I had a statement to prepare, as everyone else did also prior to being here.
Ma'am, you were provided the case law as you had requested at our last hearing. It was mailed to you. You asked for the case law that the court was making reference to. You specifically asked for it. That was provided to you. It was mailed to you.
Case law?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the date that it was mailed?
August 9. What was provided to you on August 9 was the additional copy of the pro se packet as provided by the Justice Administrative Commission. You were provided a hard copy of that in court, along with the case law that was referenced at the August 9 hearing that the court had said that it had reviewed in anticipation of the hearing that we were having this afternoon.
I don't have that. The thing that I was provided was the notice of provision of witness list from the state, and then the JAC packet.
Those were both provided to you in court. You are correct. The balance of the things that I'm speaking about were mailed to you at the legal mail address on August 9.
Which I have yet to receive.
Okay.
She always thinks that's just going to bail her out of whatever
with
jam
regard
she's in.
to
This is the first time I'm seeing each one of these documents.
I understand that. They were filed August 12th, and unfortunately this morning, due to an issue with the e-portal,
I wouldn't have internet access anyway to receive those.
they were sent to you via U.S. mail as well.
Yesterday?
Yes. So you're not wasting the court's time. You can feel free to review those at this time.
So you could see her like moving, collating papers.
Is this the case law you're referring to? State versus Smith?
I believe that those are the circuit court opinions that are referenced in WFTV's motion, which cite to the Miami Herald versus Lewis decision.
This is what it looks like when she's representing herself. She shows up for hearing. She has no idea why she's here. She's making it about how she doesn't have internet access. And they're just like, well, this has nothing to do with that. And she's just like, well, I'd be ready for this if I had the internet access. And they're just like, we sent all this stuff to you in the mail. So that's what it looks like when she has no attorney. I guarantee you that not only does Sarah want an attorney, that the prosecution wants an attorney, that they have to waste so much time explaining stuff to her. Like you may have seen this document online if you're following the case. She created this little ad for an attorney, which you just have to love. Inmate seeks attorney, looking for a prosperous challenge. That kind of implies she's going to pay. Are you ready for your close-up on national television? Which, by the way, guys, this is handwritten. It's like calligraphy here, and she's using like different fonts and stuff. Show the world who you are with your original creativity, extraordinary expertise, and confident ingenuity. Qualifications must include. You would think that here it would say, be a lawyer, a barred attorney in the state of Florida, being trustworthy, honest, passion-driven, open-minded, exceptional problem-solving skills. Like if I record my boyfriend dying, somehow that won't be used against me. Client inclusion at all times, team orientation, collaboration, extreme efficiency in listening. Your listening must be efficient, Drew. Communicating, understanding, dedication to success, presenting a winning mindset. Again, Drew, that's kind of what you were talking about. Like realistically, this is about mitigating damage. It's not necessarily about winning. Capability of excellence and representation, committed, maintaining faith in the client, care with ability to think differently. I think Sarah thinks differently. We could all agree on that. overcome all circumstances. That's that's something that you have to have in order to be an attorney. Epic opportunity awaits, she writes in bold print. Sarah Boone, number 200005623, Orange County Corrections Department. Invest in the oppressed. Believe. This is the ad she literally put out. I don't know, like, if like she posted this like on had somebody like post this on like light poles or on the neighborhood, or like how this got out. But the shocking thing about this is that it has worked. She has now retained the services of James Owen, who's a guy from further upstate in Florida. He saw this poster. He said, it's pretty shocking that, she no longer has the right to an attorney. Anyone who's constitutionally minded would obviously be worried about that. I'm against Sarah Boone, and even I'm worried about that. I feel bad for the prosecutors that they're having to waste so much time. So he goes down there and gets her to sign off on a sheet saying, hey, do you mind if I speak on your behalf to the prosecutor? I want to see kind of what their mindset is. Are they tired of this shit and they also want to leave? Are they ready to plea? But obviously a plea deal was made. Owens brought it back to Sarah Boone, and she said, absolutely not. I'm not taking a plea. Which what could we imagine? Just say you're guilty and life in prison, right? It's probably something like that. But Sarah Boone still believes that even though she made a terrible murder and produced the best evidence against her and handled herself properly from the start and got rid of every attorney who was ever appointed to help her, now this guy's going to help her out. So he says that, private sector's got to step up. He found out about the case from watching True Crime Court TV. He's asked for a continuance because they're changing strategies, but they're switching gears, and they've put a notice saying they're telling the prosecution that they're going to go with the affirmative defense of battered wife syndrome, battered spouse syndrome, battered woman syndrome. We're saying she's basically going to say, yes, I put him in this suitcase and I killed his ass and made a video of him dying slowly, painfully, begging for his life. But I'm not guilty because of everything that I've been through. And so now James Owens, without a continuance, are going to try to go to trial by October 7th, which is just 3 weeks away. Owens is recruiting lawyers to his cause and is not doing this pro bono. He thinks that someday Sarah will pay him back.
So she's been through, I think 9 attorneys now, including herself. So
I think it's 10 with her. Yeah. During her pro se era when Sarah Boone was her attorney.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to keep continuing this though. That's the thing. Like, this guy's like, hey, I'm just coming in at the fourth quarter here. And they're like, yeah, well,
if you're going to come in here, you know what you're getting into. We're not putting this off anymore. He's saying he at one point petitioned the court saying, I need at least 6 months to put together this defense because they're going to bring in experts, right? The defense attorney says we need another half year on this. Judge is like, this is nonsense. You knew what you're doing. You're coming on board for this. Go faster. That's your only option anymore. So I just wish that Sarah Boone was still going to be defending herself because it would be ridiculous.
It was fun to watch Darrell Brooks defend himself, the Waukesha Christmas parade driver. So she would have been similar because she's got the same disposition that she knows everything, or she's just going to be a thorn in everyone's side. But
October 7th, yep, it's coming up.
We'll definitely keep you updated on what goes on after this phase, which is the pretrial phase. I have the feeling, just reading the tea leaves, that there'll probably be some kind of plea deal, but if she's not satisfied with anybody's negotiation skills other than her own, then she's and there is something to be said that, like, when you go through a court case and it's not proven, or it's proven beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed the crime, and the sentencing gets in the judge's hands, you got to think of the credit you built up with the judge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that he's going to go beyond the guidelines, but you're either cooperative or you're not. And there's a part of the judge that has to evaluate whether, you're taking responsibility for your part in it or not. And she hasn't really demonstrated it to this point. She's like going beyond a rigorous defense. She's in a state of denial almost.
This case is just absolutely unique. I've never seen anything like this.
Follow along on the commcenter.com. We're going to be updating the website frequently. And this in and of itself, the Sarah Boone case has its own podcast if you're into the audio part of this. So this will become part of that podcast. It's also just going to be on the playlist of our Sarah Boone section, that we have here on YouTube. Just follow along. There's going to be a few surprises for you that John and I talked about before the show. That you may, worlds may collide. The Sarah Boone, the writings of Sarah Boone. I also want to tap either John or Dewey to see if we can create a Sarah Boone font and perhaps sell that. So
Sarah Boone font, based off of her calligraphy there.
Yep. So just stay tuned. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting case if it ever gets to trial.
Thanks so much for everyone who's watching the Comm Center. We appreciate you guys.
Feel better, buddy. That's all I can say.